things like this happen when you're here. What have you done?
Hi everybody, I'm here in London, on the Thames. But we're not here to talk about the very famous Tower Bridge, which you probably can recognize the top of. No, we're here today to visit, there it is, City Hall, which is where the London Assembly meets, and we're going to talk to an Assembly member and see the mayor. Talk about ice cream. It's going to be fun.
Nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm filming now. That's all right.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah, I know your style.
I have to ask you. Every picture I see, you have an orange scarf.
I'm colour coordinated. I have something. Okay, I'm going to admit they are teasing me a little bit in there about my.
But is it for the Lib Dems?
my Lib Dem branding.
Yeah, there you go. Brown.
Does it look good on me? This colour's good, so it's fine.
Yeah. London is a really ancient city, but the London Assembly isn't that old. It was only created in the year 2000. It was part of the same devolution process where Wales got a Senate and Scotland got its own parliament. You can kind of think of it as a city council, but it's not exactly. The London Assembly basically manages the budget that the central government gives London to run things like Transport for London and other services which are citywide. Members of the Assembly can't introduce legislation or change laws. They're really there for scrutiny. They can ask the mayors questions, like we'll see today. They can reject the budget, although as I understand it, that's never happened. They can summon people to hearings. If you're a public official, you have to attend.
Hi, I'm Hina Bokhari, councillor from Merton and newly elected Assembly member, London-wide representative of the Liberal Democrats.
And you were elected in May.
I was elected in May, yes.
As part of the local elections which happened across the country.
Yes, amongst all the craziness, yes.
I've heard that you're very passionate about getting people involved in politics.
Yeah.
Young people, I think, or maybe everyone, I don't know. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, when I got involved with politics, I found out I was the very first Muslim woman elected as a Merton councillor.
This is in Merton,
that's in Merton.
The council.
And then when I got elected here, I was one of the first Muslim women here elected as well. So there's a real issue when it comes to diversity in politics. You think that in this time and age there would be more women like myself elected, but that's not necessarily the case. And there are some fantastic women, ethnic minority women, who are doing a fantastic job in politics, but there just really isn't enough. And I think my role is to inspire others to get involved in politics. So I really hope that I can do that within my role as a London Assembly member. But also encourage people just to get to know what it's like here in the London Assembly, learn about politics. It's so important that people get engaged and understand how politics is so vital in their lives, and how there are decisions being made every day that impact everyday life, and it's so important that we communicate that really well.
So it's always been my impression in America and here, if you actually take the time to get engaged, you can make a bigger difference just as a regular citizen than
Absolutely.
You think.
Yeah. If young people are engaged, it makes a difference. It doesn't matter which party they go to, as long as they make positive changes. And their voices are so vital. What we tend to find is people who get into politics tend to be older, who have a different lived experience, who may not really see politics or life generally from a young person's perspective. And there are so many decisions that are being made that actually aren't in the interests of young people. So we have to have more young people involved in politics. We need to have their voices.
This is a Mayor's Question Time meeting of the Assembly, which means that all members are invited to attend and ask questions of the Mayor. I begin with an update on recent Assembly activities since the last full Assembly meeting, and others, to lay a wreath.
We appear to be having a security alert, Chair. Could we adjourn briefly? And
Could we adjourn, please, just for a few minutes?
Your attention, please. Your attention, please. You are required to leave the building immediately.
Can you tell me what's happened?
Literally just about to start NQTs and the alarm went off.
And
Never happened before.
It's never happened.
Why do things like this happen when you're here? What have you done?
I promise, I had nothing to do. As surprising as me.
Very different.
I have to ask you a question. I've asked, I don't know if you know this, but when I first got started, I sent letters to every important person in Britain, asking them what their favorite flavor of ice cream was. I have a letter from Boris Johnson. I have a letter from chocolate. I have a letter from Ken Livingstone. I can't remember. I think it was vanilla. It may have been chocolate.
Guess what mine is?
That's what I was going to ask. What is your favorite flavor of ice cream?
Strawberry cheesecake.
Strawberry cheesecake.
I love it. Don't
Okay.
you? So there's little bits of.
I don't like strawberry.
Biscuity.
But I can tell you, Cherie Blair, her favorite is strawberry.
Oh, there. See, I'm close to
I did this a long time ago, so she was still in 10 Downing Street.
Caroline Pidgeon's favourite is chocolate. She's a proper chocolate freak.
Yeah.
She loves chocolate. She's known for carrying. Well, she does. She carries chocolate with her all the time.
A lot of politicians like chocolate. Yeah.
And when we're in between really long meetings that can go on for a long time, we just all go.
She has a stash.
She has the stash. Yeah, we all know. We all know who to go to when we need that kick. You know, we need the sugar. So
To get through
it
the
might
meeting.
be one of those days today.
Hello, I'm Caroline Pidgeon. I'm a Liberal Democrat London Assembly member and I've been elected to this wonderful place, City Hall, for the last 13 years.
I've asked some of the biggest politicians in the UK and just important people through letters mostly, Boris Johnson, Tony Blair, Ken Livingstone, what their favorite flavor of ice cream is. So in that tradition, could you tell me what your favorite flavor of ice cream is?
I really like, it's a chocolate and hazelnut ice cream that I get from O'Dono's in East Dulwich, my local ice cream shop.
Now, I'm not 100% confident from memory, but I think that's Michael Heseltine's favorite. Quick editing note, Michael Heseltine's favorite flavor ice cream is actually rum and raisin. I couldn't find anybody that I'd written that had answered chocolate with hazelnut, so Caroline, you're unique.
Well, Michael Heseltine has some very good views on inner city regeneration and on Brexit and so on. So there you go. Maybe the ice cream brings us together.
Brings you together. Okay, definitely chocolate was Boris Johnson's. So there's a London.
Chocolate and hazelnut, just
Yeah.
the level.
I like it.
My name is Shaun Bailey. I am a Conservative London-wide member on the London Assembly.
And you were also a candidate for mayor?
Of course, I was a candidate for Mayor of London. Great
Yeah.
fun to help Londoners get represented.
Okay, so hard-hitting question. What's your favorite flavor ice cream?
My favourite flavour ice cream has to be plain old vanilla.
Right. Anne Widdecombe also likes vanilla.
Because Anne and I are very clever people.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you very much.
My name's Andrew Boff and I'm the chair of the London Assembly and also one of the Conservative members as well.
And so are you like the speaker or the equivalent?
Kind of. I mean, it's quite difficult to be impartial sometimes.
Right.
But in that job, I have to be. But you know, we are the voice of London, the London
Right.
Assembly. We are 25 members elected at the same time as the mayor to hold him to account, to ask him questions. And today's meeting is about that.
And can I just compliment your gavel technique? That was the loudest gavel. I don't know if it had a microphone, but you really it felt like you shook the building to get our attention.
I channel all my anger into the gavel. So the louder it is, the more irritated.
Right.
I am.
And can you explain what you're wearing around your?
Well, this is the mayor's badge,
Right.
And it goes back to previous incarnations.
It says GLC
London
on
government.
it. Yeah.
Sorry, the Greater London Council.
Right.
As we know, was abolished in the
Yes.
80s. But we're taking that tradition of respecting London government through to the current arrangement of Greater London Authority.
So that would have been worn by Ken Livingstone at some point, or
No, Ken wouldn't have worn it.
Right.
This is specifically to be worn by
the chair?
the chair or the equivalent of the
Yeah,
speaker.
got it.
Whoever is the person that chairs the assembly.
Okay. And you don't have like a wig or tights or anything else that you?
Under the suit, you never know what I've got on.
That's brilliant. Okay, so almost the entire London Assembly is out here, but there's a notable absence.
There's a notable absence.
And who are we missing?
We are thinking right now,
Where is the Mayor of London? And you have to hold him to account. So,
can't find it.
is there a secret mayoral
It must be. Well, it
room?
must be a security thing to be fair.
Yeah,
Pretty
very important.
Can I apologise to members for the interruption that we had? That apparently was a problem with the systems in City Hall. and there will be an investigation into it. We now move to the questions on the priority order paper. The first question is plastic-free London in the name of Assembly Member Bokhari.
London could and should be leading the way to eliminating unnecessary single-use plastic. Cities like New Delhi and Paris are way ahead of us. The River Thames is shockingly one of the most plastics polluted rivers in the world. Now, our ambition must be no less than a plastic-free city. I am concerned that the government plans for a deposit return scheme for single-use plastics continues to be delayed. And as the Mayor of London, you don't have to wait for a national action on this. We could do this. You could introduce a pilot here in London. Given the lack of government action, will you introduce a deposit return scheme for single-use plastic bottles for London?
We looked into this, and in the last mayoral term, I'm sorry you weren't here then. I'm pleased you are now.
Sadly, I wasn't.
Yeah, we looked at the pros and cons of doing so. There are all sorts of challenges. We looked at Scotland. We've done some work in relation to this. Which was encouraging. We're waiting to see the response to the lobbying of the government. If the government was to bring in a national scheme, that would be really groundbreaking. If the government decides not to, we'll go back to the work we did in relation to going it alone. But there are challenges. I'm not going to pretend there aren't challenges, but we did look into this work, learning the lessons from Scotland. But let's wait and see what the government does. I'm hopeful, actually.
Another thing that you certainly could do is eliminate the use of plastic bottles in any part of the GLA group. I'm aware that plastic cutlery is no longer used in the City Hall, which is great. But there are still plastic bottles in use in other places in the GLA group. When will these be removed?
Which ones do you mean?
So let's say, for example, the TfL groups or the police. Are there other areas that the GLA that we can introduce maybe a plastic-free approach?
Yeah, we are leading by example. So I think both within City Hall and all the GLA family understand the importance of this agenda. If there are examples that the member is aware of where the GLA family isn't following best practice, let me know and we'll follow that up.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your time.
Tell us about the question that you asked the mayor today.
So today I asked a question about how we need to be plastic-free in London. It's part of the manifesto pledge that the Liberal Democrats had, and one of the reasons that we got elected is to make sure that we uphold the promises that we made to London. The Mayor of London has got quite a few powers in this area. One of the things that he can do is to make sure that all the people who work in the GLA, so the TfL, the police, the fire brigade, all go plastic free. The Mayor of London's got so many powers that he could use, and my job and Caroline's job is to make sure that we push him to use the powers in his remit to make positive changes. And I think that part of that role is to obviously encourage and push the government, but he can always do more.
Can you tell me the story again about your father, just because I thought that was so amazing? Your father was a teacher. I'll let you take it from there.
Yes, my father was the very first Muslim head teacher in Britain. He got his job and earned his brevet in school in Tooting, walked into the Assembly Hall, and there in the hall was a range of boys who just never had seen somebody like my dad, and one of those boys was Sadiq Khan, who is now the first Muslim Mayor of London. So the connection there is beautiful, and then obviously with my election here, having one of the very first women elected in the London Assembly, it's a nice little kind of story of how I'm really proud of the fact that I'm linked to that kind of diversity and entrenchment into politics, and how my family have made that difference.
Do you know, was he, did he ever get in trouble at school, the mayor?
The Mayor of London,
Yeah.
I'm sure, yeah. So there's a couple of stories. He used to be quite argumentative in class.
Really?
Not surprising. And one of the teachers came back and said, look, if you're going to keep on arguing with me, you might as well become a lawyer.
Right.
And actually it inspired Sadiq Khan to become a lawyer, and he did do that.
And then on to politics after that.
And then on to politics.
Wow. Let's imagine that there's someone watching this video who is young and is interested in politics, and they're seeing you, and maybe they look like you, or they're just inspired by you in the same way your father inspired Sadiq Khan. What would you say to that person?
So if I was a young brown woman at home watching this, I'd say to them that anything is possible. There's nothing particularly remarkable about me. I just have a passion to want the world to be a better place. I really like people. I really want to make sure that, you know, we improve everyone's life. And if you're like that, if you feel that, you know, that we could do better in this world when it comes to the environment, or when it comes to education, or when it comes to any issue that you're passionate about, this is a great way forward to making sure that your voice is heard and the community that you represent is heard. I think young people who are watching this, or another brown woman like myself, they need to feel the confidence that they can do that. And essentially what I'm saying is, if I can do it, you can do it.
So that was my day at City Hall. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, give it a like so that more people will see this. If you're interested in learning more about the Greater London Assembly, the Liberal Democrats, or Hina Bokhari, just have a look in the description. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.